Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome into the channel. My name is Brett with Investing on the Go. Today we're covering a few things, a market update, our huge amounts of dividends that we made this week. We made the most amount of dividends within a single week ever, so we'll go ahead and cover our buy, go into our updated dividend portfolio and income breakdown going forward into the last final week of May 2026. And with that said, if you guys are brand new here to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you go down below, smash that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get into the market update. So, market update, I went ahead and posted this in the Discord. Check out the Discord server down in the pinned comment down below. Last week, we made a break to the highs, but we didn't quite hit highs on Friday. We did come close. The SPY was 748.92 as a high. I believe the highest point was around 749, so we're super close. We actually did break to a low from the prior week. We came to a low of 731. That's about a 2.3% difference between last week's low and last week's high. NASDAQ also broke towards near all-time highs on Friday, but didn't quite make it there before the kind of sell-off there towards the end of the day. Now, yeah, a 2.3% range between the lows and highs from last week, and SPY closed about 0.5% from all-time highs. Now, you would be thinking of going into the weekend that there's going to be some potential deal signed. On Friday and Saturday, there was some news kind of floated out that, hey, we're within the last final, updates of a deal going through. And then Monday, what takes place? The U.S. forces carried out a defensive strike in southern Iran. So maybe there was some kind of commotion going on. They made some kind of defensive maneuvers. It wasn't offensively going through and bombing. So we'll see how it all plays out going into the markets here on Tuesday. So far, after hours, I'm showing everything pretty positive. I did see markets, pre-markets looking pretty positive. The fear and greed meter came down from 63 last week to a 59 this week. And if we go ahead and take a look at the markets themselves, did overall pretty positive this past week. In the green, we had IWM, the Russell 2000, up 2.71. In the blue, we have the Dow Jones up a whopping 2.17. In the orange, we have the NASDAQ up 1.21. And SPY here in the purple up 0.88 last week over the last 5-day change. So overall, pretty positive. You can see that little sell-off there on Friday towards the end of the day. So I do like to see that the SPY and the NASDAQ are kind of more simmering, and we're seeing more of that upwards momentum with the lower, small mid-cap companies and the Dow Jones. We don't want the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, which is mostly 25-35% now technology, moving higher and higher, faster and faster away from the other indexes. It's good to see that the Dow Jones and the smaller mid-cap companies are also beginning to move upwards in that momentum. And I believe the Dow Jones did hit an all-time high, a recent high on Friday, closing upwards of 300 points. So we pop back over this way. I don't think I have, I do have the Dow Jones up in here. So yeah, Friday, it did hit an all-time high there of 50,835 on the Dow Jones. I don't track DIA on here. I just added it into my charts, brought on through here, but it did hit an all-time high there on Friday before coming back down. If we take a look at the 5-day price change in terms of the spider ETFs, we do see that there's not any one sector, going negatively. We are down here in the consumer communication services, looks like down 0.53, versus in the bright orange here, we have utilities up 3.37. In the blue here, we have healthcare kind of beginning to pop up here at 3.3. Purple, we got technology, right? Technology and finance, or that's consumer. Let's see here. Green is consumer discretionary, 2.27. But it's really good to see here that we do have utilities and healthcare kind of pop it up. And that's, Dow Jones is good component there of healthcare. And so So let's go ahead and pop back over. That's kind of the market update. Some of the things that I'm looking at going into this week, it just depends on how the war escalates from here on. And now let's go ahead and jump into number 2, our income update. Once again, this was our biggest single-handedly week in terms of the amount of dividends that we received. So popping over here, we received our largest amount of payout from TDAC ever. We made a whopping $1,574.59 from TDAC based on our number of shares here of 4,117 shares. Yeah, there's the amount right there. We were paid out, I think this is the highest in quite a while. We were paid out 0.3825 per share, followed right behind by IWMI, paying us based on the number of shares here of 2,092. They paid out 0.6046 per share for a total amount here of $1,264.82. Now, I'm not sure if that's the highest amount that this one's paid out. I haven't averaged into IWMI in quite a while. It's a NEOS fund. It's been there. It's been hanging out. Then we have our kind of smaller satellite that is invested into Bitcoin and gold. The NEOS Gold High Income ETF paid out $150.43, and the NEOS Bitcoin High Income ETF paid out $238.02. So based on our number of shares here, 271 times 0.5551 paid out that 150.43, and based on our number of shares here on the BTCI paid out 0.7934 per share for that 238.02. So in this single week, from the 19th to the 22nd of May, I believe, they paid out in total $3,227.86 of dividends. So massive amounts of dividends. Plus, we were paid out our T-SPY dividend earlier this month, which was the largest T-SPY payment that we've ever received as well. So that in total was probably clearing over $4,000 easily. We'll do our 1 month recap next week, going over the total amount of dividends that we collected in the month of May, as well as some other things kind of going on. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe for that. So that is a big amount of income. We will go over the full portfolio breakdown here in just a moment. Now, buys and sells. I did do one additional buy this week, so let's go ahead and pop over this way. It's not anything fancy. I posted this over in the Discord server. If you guys are familiar with my plan, I wanted to invest roughly $1,000 or so into the stock market with margin. So in order to hit my threshold of very close to $1,000 but not going over, I had to buy one more share of TDAC. So here I did go ahead and push one more purchase of TDAC here at $27.84 on the 20th. So on Tuesday, I went ahead and bought it there at $27.84 and it filled, and that was it. You can see down here and pop it into the stock journals. This one right here, the TDAC that I purchased on the 18th. I thought 18th it was Monday. Okay, so on Monday, I had picked these up. They went ex-dividend. So TDAC went ex-dividend. That's why there's a little bit of a price difference here. So I picked up this before the ex-dividend, and then I picked up this one after the ex-dividend. So by the end of the week, this one just kind of recovered a bit more towards the end of the week. And I did kind of make a note here that I purchased these shares on margin, and I'm trying to maintain that. It's kind of an interesting thing here on Robinhood. We'll talk about that here in just a second when I jump into the Robinhood portfolio. And into the next area, number 4, our week 21 dividend portfolio and income breakdown. So jumping into our dividend portfolio and taking a look here at our last buy. So everything that I purchased this past week, everything was based on margin. If we look at our stock portfolio, I went ahead and just kind of wrote in here, I invested $996.89 of margin into the market. We made a whole video going over, I wanted to, begin using margin a bit. I wanted to use $1,000 or less because Robinhood gives me $1,000 of margin completely free, no interest. So it's basically free money. By investing this cash into the market, I was able to pick up 37 shares between TDAC and T-SPY, increasing my monthly income by $12.70 and increasing my annual income going forward by $152.45. So that's a pretty good win right on through there. Now, taking a look at our positions up here, our T-SPY, it's going to go ex-dividend again early June. So, it paid out here recently. We went over a whole video how it paid out the largest amount of dividends that we've ever received since the holding. But this week, TDAC paid us our biggest TDAC payout, right? It went from 447 back in January, dipped through, that was February. So 447 back in February, dipped to 1361 in March, 1376 in April, and then came back up. Now, as that price reappreciates and volatility is there, the premium becomes a little bit higher. So the dividend payout for this month, based on our shares, was $1,574.59. So it paid out nearly $130 more than my previous high in TDAC. And then the Russell 2000, the IWMI, also paid out some dividends here. It paid out $12.64. It didn't come close to the high here of $12.80 that was back in April. And then IAUI paid out, that's the NEOS High Gold Income Fund. It paid out $150.43. Gold is only down. It was doing pretty good, but it has came down a bit of a pullback here, down 4.59%. It's not quite back at those, it was paying out 153 back in April, 160 back in March, 162 back in February. So February paid out $162.49. That's the highest payout for gold. And then Bitcoin right on through here. Bitcoin paid out $238.02. Not quite the highest here, $291, $285. So let's see here. This is January, February, March, and March, April, May, June. No. So this is May, April, March, February. So February was the highest payout based on my Bitcoin of 291.96. And that makes sense. Back in February, it had probably the most volatility here. It was around $90,000 and then dropped off a cliff going into February. And that increased volatility just probably caused the premium to just increase. And then our XQQQI and our XSPY, they haven't gone ex-dividend, and we haven't received any premium or dividends from these holdings just yet. We bought them after they went ex-dividend, so we just haven't held them through an ex-dividend yet. But since we purchased into them, XQQQI is up 2.78 and XSPY is up 1.68. So overall, pretty positive with the portfolio. You can see our total return here, 6.06 with dividends paid out if we were to kind of capture that. Okay, let's go head up. Our last and final area here is the Robinhood live portfolio breakdown. So popping over to Robinhood, we can bring up the chart. So on the Friday, I don't know if this is Friday's performance, this is showing today, but today is the 25th of May, which is Monday, and the market's not open today. So I don't know if this is from last week, up 0.45. If we look at the 1 week here, 1 week is up 0.64%. I'm not sure. It looks like that's pretty accurate. If we compare ourselves to the market, the IWM was up 2.71. The Dow Jones was up 2.17. NASDAQ and SPY were both around 0.88 to 1.2, with NASDAQ only up 1.2. For our portfolio to move up 2.64 in a week, I think that must have been kind of pulled along from IWMI potentially. I'm not sure how it excelled by so much above what the market performed at. Our margin use, as I said here in the stock journal, we did invest $996 into the market, and you can see right here, $996.89. Once again, I wanted to invest using margin as close to $1,000 as we could. This is as close as I can get without using fractional shares, which I'm not looking to use at the moment. And our portfolio matches our spreadsheet here. T-SPY 4120, TDAC 4118, IWMI 2092, IAUI 271 shares, BTCI 300, XQQQI 5, and XSPY 5. So those are our holdings on the 1 month. So we're not quite all the way through May just yet. You can see our performance on the month so far, 4.83%. If I go ahead and do a comparison here against the markets here, we'll just kind of take a look here. We can see here NASDAQ up 8.08%, the SPY 4.44%, the IWM 3.06, and the DIA, the Dow Jones 2.83. So our portfolio is at 4.83%, and it's paid out over $4,000 of cash back, over 4,000 based on my dividends, right? It's paid that back out to me in cash, and I move that capital over to my cash account. So what I've done here is I opened a cash account that's going to have my direct withdrawals for my mortgage, my car loan, my electricity gets direct withdrawn. I can't put my electricity bill on my credit card. I like putting every bill, everything I can put on my credit card. I love doing that because I get that 3% cash back and then I pay it back down to zero. So I do have a cash account that I'm using for my direct withdrawal. So what I do here is anytime that I have a dividend roll into the account, that dividend that rolls into my account basically nullifies my margin and knocks me back up into the positive margin. What I need to do every time that I get a dividend in this account, I always have to deposit the funds and then move it into the other account. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now, but in order to kind of keep my margin in line in this account. So I wish that there was a feature that you could go into a specific position and say, when I receive dividends from this position, I don't want to drip it. I want to have it into my account and then target where those dividends get, deposited. I don't see that function in here. I just don't see that as an option in here. So maybe in the future they will have that where I can just kind of target where the dividends get deposited. That would be an awesome feature for Robinhood and would be an awesome feature for me myself, because I don't want my cash being deposited into this account directly. I would like the cash to go directly into my cash account, and then I'll pay down my bills and expenses by the end of the month, and then I know exactly how much I have remaining left over, and then I move it into my investment account, and it pays down the margin, and then I reinvest that capital and kind of keep my margin right around where I want it to be. I think that's the plan kind of going forward, is kind of how I'm using margin as I begin to leverage more and more into margin. This whole cycle will kind of make more sense. And then I'll redo my command center, because right now I don't have how margin is affecting the portfolio, but it will change how that all works kind of in the future. But as of now, if you guys are unfamiliar with the whole process, we're currently living from our individual account with some excess income from my rental income. I'm now monetized here on YouTube. My Facebook page is monetized. So I'm looking for other monetization outlets and increasing different sources of income. So guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I do appreciate everyone tuning in and hanging out, and no other updates as of now. If you guys have any comments or questions or have suggestions on other upcoming videos, let me know down in the comments section below. I would really appreciate it. Also, check out the pinned comment down below. You guys can sign up for SoFi Money, get $25 to $400. Get SoFi Invest, get $25 for depositing $25. Join me on Robinhood if you'd like, and join me on the Discord server. So guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I do appreciate everyone for tuning in today. Definitely go down below, smash that subscribe, smash that thumbs up, and I hope you have a great day and week coming up. So that's it for me. Bye-bye.